Thank you so much, Kaylin and Maureen and Lucretia, for giving me this opportunity. We chatted a few minutes before, and I was telling them I'm just thrilled to be able to share with you some for the next several minutes what this group of special people has been doing for the last couple of years. So nearly 2 years ago, 7 national organizations from across the United States and came together with some local leaders, came together with a common agenda. One of the goals was a call for a shift in the way our field thinks about its work. And it's simple to say, right? But really challenging to do. So together, we wanted to build bridges to other fields, industries, systems, other domains, and develop new partners whose effectiveness can multiply the power of current early childhood investments. So the time had come for these organizations and local leaders to take a step back from our daily challenges and ask, where are the most important sources of stress and adversity in families' lives? What assets and strengths are primed for action? Where I think most of us here are trained in strengthening families framework. And so we also asked, where are the barriers with both child and adult well-being, and what more can we be doing? And the key word is collectively, to reduce those obstacles of healthy development. So the collaboration of these 7 national organizations, along with selected local leaders, we understood, and I can include the group that's here today, we understand that our nation is facing many challenging issues related to children and families. This bringing together a wide range of expertise. I mean, look at these 7 organizations. These are amazing representation of great things happening for children and families, but bringing together this wide range of expertise and the support of these local decision makers for an opportunity to create some solutions that are best for children and families in the communities that they live in. So together, our goal is to build an early learning nation where every child can grow, play, and be nurtured. So my name, again, is Amanda Quiroz-Guajarda, and I'm one of those local leaders selected to serve on the steering committee for the ELN nearly 2 years ago. So, and I'm going to tell you why I put these pictures up. You'll get a kick out of this. But my journey with the ELN began when I was serving as the executive director of a nonprofit organization focused on child abuse prevention. One of our supporting partners was and continues to be Save the Children. And I was serving in Central California. And so Save the Children, being one of our partners, asked me to serve on this national steering committee. And when I asked why, I remember her saying, because we see that you're paying attention to your community. You're showing up. So there's a lot to be said for being the squeaky wheel, right? My goal during the 7-year tenure was to make sure that when my program, the Child Abuse Prevention Council, entered a room, we did not need to be introduced. The community knew who we were. They knew what we did, why we did it, and even how we did it. So I've since moved across the country and started my own consulting business on parent education, child abuse prevention, and strengthening families, called Off to a Good Start. Currently, I'm contracted with Unidos, which is the largest Latino civil rights organization in the United States, to implement some of the objectives of the Early Learning Nation Collective. And the reason I put these pictures up here was because, the reason I do this work, let me back up. When I started going to school, um, I my bachelor's degree was in child development, and I didn't do that because I wanted to teach someday. I did that because I knew I would be a parent someday, and I wanted to change the script. I wanted to change the playbook for my kiddos. And so this work, professional, is very personal as well. And my particularly the topic that we're going to talk about, dual language development. The reason I put these pictures up here is that what you'll see in the top left corner are my parents, and my parents are they're both 80 years old, and I grew up during a time when I remember my dad saying things like, don't speak Spanish because your teachers won't think you're smart. So, and then, so they're going to be part of what the reason that I do this work. And then, and you're going to laugh because the story is really changes as we get better, right? And so we have a lot of conversations now with my own adult children who are in the lower pictures. My two daughters are in the far right. The youngest one on the left, it just turned 20 today. So I officially have no teenagers, and it makes me feel really old. But and she's doing a year with AmeriCorps, and I think a lot of you partner with AmeriCorps, so she's doing a year with AmeriCorps before she goes to college, and is using some of her Spanish. So, and my other older daughter works for FEMA, and as you can imagine, is very, very busy right now. And then the picture in the middle, there's a reason why I picked this particular picture of my son, who is the military legislative aide for Senator Blumenthal, and that's who is in the picture. And the reason I picked this is because I wanted to stress to you all how important it is that you never know who you're going to be able to share what you do and get them excited. And of course, I took every opportunity I could to talk to this man that I probably will never see again. Well, you never know, but he knows who the ELN is, and he knows how important dual language development is to me in 2 minutes that I had with him. So again, it's important to always know your audience, to always have that elevator speech ready, because you just never know. And then of course, and if you tell my children that my dog's picture was front and center and bigger, they're gonna know that that was true, because that's my partner in crime, Toby, and who's sitting right here next to me and making sure that I do a good job for you all today. So that's a little bit about who I am, where I come from, and again, I just want to share with you that I hope you, if nothing else, you, as my children would say, there's not many things Amanda's passionate about, but the things that she is, you'll know, and this is one of them. And I'm just, again, really thankful for the opportunity to share some of this. So again, about a year ago, we asked ourselves as a collective, what mindsets do we want to change? And how do we propose to change them? So by converging all this knowledge from these 7 national organizations, the experience, the research, both within and outside traditional boundaries of the early childhood field, we felt like we had a promising opportunity to multiply the positive impacts that we can have on current well-being and the future life prospects of today's youngest children. So these opportunities included, again, the extensive knowledge and powerful yet relatively untapped insights from lived experience of service providers. In this case, home visitors. Community leaders like myself, policymakers, and families raising young children in a diversity of contexts. This was our who we wanted to be part of this study. We included our own growing understanding of the impact of our efforts on child and family well-being, beginning before birth, and the key role that healthy child development can play in interrupting those intergenerational risk factors that threaten the well-being of children. So our plan was and continues to build connections and facilitate this shared learning among early childhood programs and the wide range of lived experiences of families with young children. This was our how. And as a result of this important work, we are building evidence of success, but we're also disseminating lessons learned from efforts that don't work. We're aiming high and starting really small with a few selective groups that are piloting some of the key findings of the study, but they are very motivated, and we are including but not limited to our national organizations and their affiliates. So our vision is to achieve a substantially larger impact for more children through balanced investments in both community-focused initiatives and relationship-based services. I just froze, so let me see. Okay, hopefully that helps. So over the next several minutes that we have together, I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of the research and some key lessons in dual language development. I'll also highlight some of the actionable strategies for coaching parents on creating language-rich environments by home visitors. So, and as we wrap up, I'm going to identify some gaps that we discovered in trainings and resources that really limit home visitors in their ability to support dual language learners effectively. And I'm going to provide you with an invitation to explore one of the trainings that we've developed as a result of this study as a resource, hopefully for your own program, for your own community. So whether we're trying to increase parent participation or maybe reach a diverse population, whatever that is, we can't just guess on what will help our families, right? We need to make sure there's evidence to inform the work that we do. We used research to both generate evidence and help integrate evidence-based practices in our work, right? So with that in mind, we recognize that home visitors have a unique perspective to contribute to research. And so this study included both qualitative data, which is the interviews that we did, and quantitative data, which included a national online survey. So if we compare a survey to an interview in terms of what information it obtains, the survey can collect information on like how something occurs, how often something occurs. The interview obtains information about the barriers of some of those occurrences. So we used mixed method approach. We asked home visitors to complete a brief survey on dual language development. There was actually three things: dual language development, early literacy, and father engagement. And we asked them the questions to help us learn how much they understood about these topics. And we also conducted interviews to collect more detailed information, feedback, and suggestions. And so today I'm going to focus on the dual language development. piece of that study. Our research protocols were also submitted and approved by the Institutional Review Board, which allows us to publish and um, give us a lot of more opportunities to share some of the data. This There's a lot of slides, a lot of words on this slide. Okay, so but to summarize it into my own words, which are much simpler to grasp, is that our perspective of home visitors proved to be a really valuable asset in designing better research. And better research means better outcomes for families, right? Connecting science and community continues to bring together advances in early childhood science and direct services for children and families. So our aim was to build on current best practices, what home visitors were already doing, um, and listen really carefully to them and to the family and family engagement staff. Our goal was to help achieve at the end better outcomes for all children who were dual language learners. One of our core findings, as you'll see a little bit later on, is that all early childhood education teachers of young dual language learners can learn and implement strategies that systematically introduce English during the early years, while, and here's the important part, while simultaneously promoting that home language maintenance. Our first task was to, and we know that there's a lot of literature taking place in the world of home visiting, right? We used our research to both generate evidence and help integrate evidence-based practices already happening in our work. Again, we found that home visitors have a unique perspective to contribute to research and gather knowledge about early learning from caregivers. It made a huge difference. I was sharing with our host that I have so much respect for this early learning nation, for Start Early, for Save the Children, for UnidosUS, in that they asked a home visitor to talk to home visitors. I started my career in early childhood education as a home visitor, oh gosh, 30 plus years ago. Now I just aged myself, right? And there was the opportunity to have a home visitor talk to home visitors was so powerful. And there was a level of transparency, of trust, of connecting our stories that just was amazing. Again, the work that home visitors continue to do is it's just beyond impactful and special. So when addressing the research process, in this case, in the beginning, the data collection, we gathered qualitative insights and real world examples from home visitors and family engagement staff. We made sure to adapt questions to respect their linguistic and cultural diversity as well. In other words, if the survey wanted to, if the home visitor wanted to respond to the survey in Spanish, we made it available. And the interviews also were conducted in the language preference of the home visitor. So some of the questions in both the survey and the interviews are seen here. We once those were all completed, we categorized the responses by themes. For example, strategies that we heard from home visitors, maybe barriers, resources they were using. So we were able to identify patterns and trends in common practices and challenges. So and what we also did is we made sure to cross-check with participants for accuracy and completeness. In other words, I wanted to make sure I heard them right, or we got the responses were matching. It's because they were done in Spanish that the translation was accurate, and so we really made sure that that cross check with participants happened. That was really important for us. So, what what did we learn, or what are we still learning? I'm going to be highlighting some of the findings from this study in the next few slides. So, for example, 90% of the home visitors interviewed and or surveyed asked for more practical training in dual language development. And they also reported that they felt that families need guidance in creating those language rich environments, home environments. So prior research shows that dual language learners benefit from consistent exposure to both languages, right? But research also shows that regular interaction in both languages, it really enhances, and we know this, I'm preaching to the choir, that it enhances cognitive flexibility, problem solving, academic readiness. Home visitors told us that many of their families still express uncertainty about how to integrate both those languages into daily routines. So it's clear that young dual language learners, many of whom are children of immigrants, face unique linguistic, cognitive, and academic challenges, but they also possess much intellectual, cultural, and social potential that is a lot of times unrealized. While a lot of the dual language learners are a diverse group in themselves, with important distinctions across family and early learning contexts that affects early development, all of these children are presented with the task of learning about the world through more than one language. Like the study and a lot of other studies that are starting to shed light on the neurological, cognitive, social, cultural, and academic consequences of learning a second language during the early childhood years. Over the years, researchers like UnidosUS, Start Early, and Save the Children, they have come together and formed a consensus on some of the major features that of effective early childhood education programs and practices of dual language learners. Our evidence through this study strongly supports high quality early intervention that includes things like scaffolding, adaptations, enhancements, many of them based on specific language abilities and needs that promote school readiness for dual language learners. Although many home visitors are bilingual, and I think of all of the ones that were interviewed, and I think we interviewed 20, maybe 23, 24 of them. I think all of them were bilingual, but they shared a need for training in bilingual strategies. This graphic emphasizes the gap in knowledge and confidence reported by home visitors when supporting dual language learners. So what this was that many home visitors reported some uncertainty in distinguishing, say, typical bilingual language development from potential language delays. So, and they also shared a lack of structured bilingual focused resources available for training and professional development. So in other words, home visitors feel underprepared to support dual language learners effectively. A lot of this was self-reported knowledge. We asked questions about their level of education, um, recent training in the area of dual language development, and their experience as home visitors or related field. So we didn't look at like transcripts or professional development records. This was self-reported. So we don't feel, especially with this group, feel challenged to stress the importance of dual language development at this point. We all know that there's cognitive benefits and social and emotional benefits to supporting the development of dual languages. And we also know that there continues to be a lot of misconceptions about this area of development. Our challenge right now is to support home visitors who are working directly with these families. We identified some specific training needs, such as, again, what I mentioned earlier, the understanding of bilingual language milestones and addressing misconceptions about bilingualism. We continue to need to provide clarity on key developmental stages, such as a lot of home visitors talked about they didn't understand the difference between like when children typically begin to code switch or differentiate between the two languages. We need to encourage home visitors to continue to recognize the strength in both languages and support families in celebrating these milestones. So again, addressing those misconceptions about bilingualism continues to be relevant. Debunking those myths, such as learning two languages causes a delay, or they'll get confused, or families should only use one language. Diving deeper to educate home visitors on the cognitive and social emotional benefits of bilingualism to instill confidence in promoting that dual language development. So by discussing strategies like building trust and understanding with families from diverse linguistic and cultural backgrounds, because again, we piloted this training with a group of home visitors in Forest Grove, Oregon, and not every bilingual family spoke Spanish. There were different dialects. I shared this story during the training that when I was working with the New Mexico School for the Blind, we were asked to go do vision screenings at a health center in rural New Mexico. And I remember a new colleague telling me, "Oh, I'm so glad they hired you because you're bilingual." And after doing some vision screenings, they asked me, "So, what are the families saying?" And I said, I don't know." They said, "Well, we thought you were bilingual." I said, I am, but that's not Spanish. It was it was Mescalero. There was a Native Americans there, and so again, we're not just talking. We're serving families from diverse cultural backgrounds, diverse linguistic backgrounds, and so by emphasizing the role of active listening and adapting some communication styles to meet families where they are, by providing examples of culturally relevant materials and activities such as bilingual storytelling that reflects the family's heritage. And I'll take you back to the picture of my parents. They live in New Mexico, and this a few months ago was their first trip to the East Coast. And what we did is we at dinner or anytime we had some downtime as a family, we recorded my dad telling some of his stories and from when he grew up, because language is part of who we are. And my dad, we laugh about this now because he mixes his English and Spanish a lot, and we he told his story that way. And there's something really special about that because that's not only that's who he is, and that's a reason why we are who we are, right? So using those traditional songs in both languages and by encouraging reflection, um, this is really important. Encouraging that reflection on that implicit bias, and how that can impact the support provided to families. Again, this is really impactful and personal to me because I grew up during a time when I was not encouraged or taught to speak Spanish because it wasn't an asset, for me. That was the thinking then. So we really are one need to highlight the importance of equipping home visitors with culturally responsive, um, uh, practices to work effectively with, again, diverse families, because not everybody has the same experience, right? Um, Home visitors play a vital role in shaping early learning experiences, especially for dual language learners. Yet their ability to um, support families often hinges on having the right knowledge, the right tools, and strategies. Our study confirmed that practical insights bridge that gap between theory and application. And it empowers the home visitors to be able to guide families in fostering bilingualism through everyday interactions, to address some of those common barriers with culturally responsive solutions, and at the end to equip parents with confidence to create those language rich environments at home. And by focusing on these um, actionable strategies, we are really hoping to strengthen the partnership between home visitors and families to ensure that every child has the opportunity to thrive, um, not just socially and academically, but linguistically as well. So now, now that we've explored the practical insights needed for supporting dual language learners, I want to shift the focus a little bit to the critical role that home visitors play in turning these insights into action. Home visitors, we know, serve as those trusted guides, those mentors, those connectors for families. I always refer to home visitors as the first responders to whatever is happening in that family, right? But by coaching parents, by being able to model effective bilingual practices, and providing tailored resources, these they can become that bridge between, again, the research-based strategies and real world impact. So based on our findings, we were able to take a closer look at how home visitors can empower families to create those really great language rich environments. The coaching parents includes, and again, you all know this, providing practical tips to parents how to incorporate bilingualism into daily routines, such as labeling items in the home, narrating daily activities, introducing songs and stories in both languages, highlighting the importance of consistency and repetition, in language exposure, and sharing those success stories of examples and other families to build confidence. I was talking to a group yesterday about peer mentoring, and there's something special about being able to say, I know exactly what you're going through, and being able to connect those families and share some of those success stories really can help build that confidence. Modeling bilingual practices can vary from demonstrating effective techniques for engaging children in bilingual activities such as dual language books, playing language-based games, using real scenarios to show parents how to create language-rich environments at home, offering some hands-on demonstrations during visits or through video resources, providing resources like by distributing culturally appropriate materials. A lot of the home visitors were using bilingual books and educational toys. Um, Creating customized recommendations based on the unique family needs, preferences, and language abilities. And the importance of connecting families with community resources like libraries, community groups, language learning programs, were all part of the development of the trainings. So finally, while the role of home visitors is pivotal in supporting families and fostering dual language development, we realize that their success depends on having the right tools and training, right? So to effectively coach parents or model bilingual practices or provide valuable resources, home visitors need access to culturally responsive training and practical materials. So what the ELN, or the Early Learning Nation Collective, has developed based on these surveys, these interviews, analyzing all the data, is training and resources available to empower home visitors in this really critical work. So let's take a little closer look as to what makes this and some other trainings an ideal choice for your programs. For me, one of the unique features is, and I know there's a lot of trainings on dual language development, and they're all are very good at being culturally responsive. And so what we wanted to do is that we wanted to equip home visitors with an understanding, not just of the cultural values and traditions that influence language development, but we also wanted to include modules of recognizing and addressing our own implicit biases in communication with families. And we also wanted to be able to develop some tools for identifying language exposure levels in homes. So by providing various developmental opportunities like workshops and webinars that feature bilingual education experts, and family engagement, and creating peer learning groups and those mentoring opportunities for home visitors. This study has the potential to support countless numbers of families and children and programs for years. And because not all programs are created equal, right? The training is specifically designed to address the unique needs of home visitors when facing dual language learners. It's evidence-based approach, has practical strategies, and it focuses on that cultural responsiveness. The training equips home visitors to make a real difference in the families that they serve. So again, what I want to do is I want you to take a look at what makes this training hopefully an ideal choice for your program. There's a couple of statements that I hope stay with you. One of them is that not all teachers can teach in all languages, but all teachers can support all languages. And if you get nothing else from from this, that's what I want you to understand, that when you're looking at at hiring and knowing that this is your population, and it would be great if your staff reflected the population that you're serving. And that's not always reality, right? And so not all teachers can teach in all languages, but all teachers can support all languages. So the research reviewed here clearly indicates that young dual language learners should be given that opportunity to develop high levels of proficiency in both of their languages, because we know that there's so many advantages, and they're significant and they're lasting. So finally, we our
Amanda,
profession. Yes, yes,
I want to jump in with one clarifying question
yes.
from Paige. She asked, when the term home visitor is used here, are you referring to IDA Part C, early intervention, or universal home visiting, or is it a broad term?
We
So if you could just clarify.
we got responses from Universal. What some of them were called parent educators, some were called peer mentors, some were called developmental specialists, family engagement staff. So we took anybody who was serving, again, prenatal through school age in the home, whether they had just a home-based service, or some of them had a combined service model, like home visiting, and then they had parent groups once a week or once a month, and they also had center-based. So it combined um, everybody, everybody. Thank you. Great question. Yeah. So again, I guess that how I want to, and I know I want to leave some time for any questions, but I want to first thank you for taking time to listen to information about the study, the initiative, and for considering your particular role in supporting dual language learners and their families. Your commitment to fostering early learning and family engagement, is invaluable. And together, we can empower to um, home visitors, strengthen families, and create really great, lasting opportunities for our children to thrive. I again, looking back at my family picture and knowing that I grew up during a time where it was not supported, when you look at my children now, and there are a total of 6 languages now spoken, and it's just I think the other thing that I want to stress is, I hope you remember, is that we get better. With more knowledge, we can do better, and those families that are struggling with maintaining that home language need to be supported. And we need to be able to give home visitors who are there during the most critical times of those families' development, with the tools, with the confidence to be able to support dual language learners. When we piloted this training, we talked about what is being bilingual, and just because you speak Spanish doesn't mean you're bilingual. We talked about that whole being literate. Do you also read and write in Spanish? And so just really great conversation with home visitors. There's my question and reflection. So I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, but I
Well,
do want. Am I good? Okay.
we are just about out of time, but if anyone does have a question, let's see. So we do have a question in the chat. I'll read it from Paige. I'm wondering what you would say in the scenario that recently resettled families are resistant to continuing their native language because of their goal to acclimate to the US.
Yeah, that came up a lot, and I would probably respond with, again, building that trust and having those conversations and asking why. Why are We're one of the few countries that speak, predominantly just one language. And I would ask the families, why are you not wanting to maintain that cultural family language? I'm doing the actual training to a group for NABE, which is the National Association for Bilingual Education, next month. And one of the things that I am to respond to that is asking the question, well, don't you want your children to speak to their grandchildren? I mean, to their grandparents? I grew up that way. I grew up with both my grandmothers speaking only Spanish. And although I grew up hearing the language a lot, I couldn't speak to my grandma. It wasn't until I left for college, till I left home, that I started attending a bilingual church and and I'll this is funny. Started watching Spanish soap operas that I got to learn the language so that so I would ask the why. What is the motivation to want to not only acquire the English language, but want to lose the native language. I There's only advantages to being bilingual. The amount of brain activity when you're exposed to two languages early on is phenomenal. The skills that little ones gain in that executive functioning of the brain when they're exposed to both languages just has so many unlimited advantages. So take the training and you'll learn.
Thanks, Amanda. I see that your colleague Tanya has raised her hand. So Tanya, if you want to close us out, we need to get to the updates soon. Welcome, Tanya.
Oh, yeah. Hi, well, I'm Tania Villarroel. I'm a policy advisor, early childhood education with UnidosUS. And Amanda said everything already. I just want to say that this is something that's very common. Parents not wanting to speak their home language to their children because they think that it will confuse them. But we actually released a report that maybe I can share it in the chat on how programs can support parents advocating for themselves, because there are different things that they can say. First, the research behind all of this, and Amanda talked about that, shows that there's no confusion, that learning English does not take from learning another language, and learning another language does not take from learning English. So that's one of the main things, and I will share the report with all the research that could help these parents to understand more and make the decisions that they want to make based on the research and what they want to do with their children. So just want to say thank you so much, Kaylin, also for inviting us. This has been an amazing opportunity. And thank you, Amanda, for this amazing presentation.
Yes, thank you both. Amanda, this was wonderful. And Tanya, thank you for leading that work. All right, we are going to jump to our updates, but we're all still here in the chat. So if you did have another question, feel free to put it in there. We can be chatting through these updates. First, we'll go to Maureen from the Children's Trust Fund Alliance.
Excellent. Thanks, Kaylin. I am going to put information in the chat here. But just so you know, we have an upcoming virtual training of trainers in February. So if you would like to become an Alliance certified trainer, we have that coming up, and registration is open and the link is in the chat, and Lucretia is also going to put in a PDF of the flyer. And then if we go to the next slide, you will see that we have more upcoming dates for virtual training of trainers in May, August, and October. And right along with our topic today, for the next slide, we have a virtual bilingual hosted training of trainers coming up, which is going to be fantastic. And so that is spread out between 4 dates in 2025, March 14th and 28th, And 11th and 25th, we are taking pre-registrations for this training of trainers. If you are already an Alliance certified trainer, which I see many of you are, we do have a special rate in particular to attend this training of trainers. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And Amanda, thank you so much for that information. It was really, really fantastic. Kaylin, back to you.
Great, thank you. We are going to hear from Maureen Durning, who I may still need to unmute, actually. Let's see, sorry about that. Maureen is ready to talk.
Okay, I found the unmute button, so I'll talk really quick. We have had a really wonderful response to our digital strong book. You know, the strong book is the 50 lesson plans. They're updated now with all the new information from the National Alliance, from the CSSP research, and all the handouts are in both English and Spanish. Very often when somebody purchases the strong book, they immediately ask about training in the use of the book. So we're completely redesigning the way we're doing these trainings. We're now going to have two options for people. When you buy the book, we're going to have a regularly scheduled 2-hour Zoom training that will take place every other month starting in February. February 12th at 5 p.m. Mountain Time will be our first training. Then we're also going to have an individual 2-hour online training that we are creating right now. They'll be up and running by the end of next month. Both of these options will also include a follow-up consultation call with Jane Zink and me. We are the co-authors of the book. And all of these options will award you a certification as a National Strong Trainer. Then we're also making a huge shift in the way that we're now going to offer large group train the trainer events. Rather than scheduling a time and having individuals register and pay, we're going to offer training for your group of 8 to 20 participants, all for the same registration fee and all offered at whatever is the most convenient time for your agency's schedule. We have found that we really like training entire staffs all at the same time, because it gives them a way to embed the framework into their day-to-day workings. So we're going to have 3 different options for those trainings. One will be a 4-day training recommended for agencies new to strengthening families or for groups who want more focused practice in lesson plan delivery. Then we'll also have a 2-day training, and we also have a webinar series, 6 interactive webinars, an hour and a half each, that introduce the framework and help you move from knowledge to implementation. So all of that's going to be online. We still, of course, offer our in-person Train the Trainer events. We're headed to Vermont in April. We also have consultation services. You can contact me for pricing for any of these things. Always free is give me a call. I love to talk to people and just discuss whatever your needs are. And all of this information is not yet, it's not yet all up. Everything's not up on the website. We literally figured all of this out this past Tuesday. So soon we'll have it all up on the website, all the pricing and everything, but anybody can get in touch with me, and feel free to call me or sign up for our newsletter. There's a link on the website for the newsletter. So thank you.
Thanks so
you
much, Maureen.
And
Sorry to
Kaylin,
rush
thank you so much for everything you've done all these years you've been at CSSP. We have to give you some applause here.
Thank you. I'm about to share that announcement, Maureen, so give me a minute. I have a few updates from CSSP. Policy priorities for 2025 in light of the incoming administration. Our president has a blog post up that I recommend. We're going a little bit over the hour, but I do want to share these updates. We also, related to today's topic, we had our first bilingual episode of our podcast, The New Neighborhood. Dulce Sanchez and Blanca Fernandez, who were also presenting on the webinar about the manifesto for parent leadership, were interviewed there with interpretation, and so that you can hear that podcast episode either in English or Spanish, and that fills out our season of 6 episodes with various parent leaders, including our own Lucretia Rose, who is on the line supporting this webinar from West Virginia. So I encourage you to check those out wherever you get your podcasts. We have updates on activities coming up for the Early Learning Nation Collective, which Amanda referred to. Go to that website or click on any of these links, and I put them all in the chat to find out about specific activities coming up. And finally, I do want to share that this is my last webinar with the Strengthening Families National Network, at least in this role. I'm going to be switching from staff at CSSP to consulting at the end of this month. I will continue to love and want to talk all the time about strengthening families, so I'd love to stay connected with folks in this network. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And thank you all for this wonderful, I believe it might be 13 years. I've been hosting these webinars longer than I've been on staff at CSSP. So it's always been a fun way to connect with the network. And I appreciate everyone who's presented over the years and everyone who's participated. So for today, thank you, Amanda. It has been wonderful to hear about this research and the tools you came up with. And we know that families need that support. So thank you for helping to make it happen. And thanks everybody for joining us today.
So Kaylin, I have to jump in here. Yes, kudos to you. Thank you for all your hard work. I know we will continue to see you in the work of strengthening families, but you have been a longtime partner of the Alliance, and the Alliance has been a long-time partner of you and CSSP. So really, thank you for all of the lives that you have changed and will continue to change for the better. So all of the flowers and love to you. And just so you all know, we will be continuing these webinars. Reach out to me. My information's in the chat box if you have a topic or something you would like to discuss. And we look forward to seeing you in March. Thanks, Kaylin.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maureen. See you all soon.